sports fans. Welcome to another episode of Holy Schmidt, an occasional web series about all things religious and theological. I, of course, am your fearless leader and host, Dr. Schmidt. Today I want to talk a little bit about church and state. Now, for most Americans, these two things, church and state, are symbols that represent religion and politics. These, of course, are the two things we're not supposed to talk about in polite company, but they also happen to be the two things that divide us the most, so it seems pretty important that we should know what the heck we're talking about. In order to understand the relationship between church and state, it's first important to understand that every single thing has a history. Every person, every country, every institution, everything has a history, and that history is really important for understanding where it is today. The way that Americans think about religion is different than how most people throughout history have thought about religion, and probably different from how most people in the world think about religion. For most Americans, religion has to do with something very individual, with what's going on internally, in my mind or in my heart or in my soul or something here. But government, the state, the nation state, the country, whatever you want to say, has to do with the collective, has to do with a community. Most Americans understand religion and politics as being separate because they deal with different things. Religion deals with the individual, and the state or the government deals with people as a whole. The reason why we think about religion in this way is because we were founded by people who come out of a particular context. They come out of a particular history. They have a story behind the way that they think about religion. The people that founded this country, the people that wrote down all of the stuff that we learned in social studies when we were kids, those folks were a religious minority. They were being persecuted for the way that they were worshiping. But when they thought about religion, they thought about it in terms of Christianity. More than that, they thought about religion as a particular kind of Christianity. They didn't conceive of a country that had Catholics or Jews or Muslims or atheists. They had a very particular understanding of religion in mind, that religion is private, that it has to do with individual salvation. Some of that stuff still holds in American culture. The idea that you can choose to not be religious, I'm not so sure they had that in mind. You can tell about their assumptions in the very phrase itself, the separation of church and state. If they had something besides Christianity in mind, it might have been something different. They thought about religion in terms of Protestant Christianity. So who cares? What does this have to do with us today? Embedded in the very logic of American government is an understanding of religion as being private, as being individual, and as being Christian. For religious traditions that give primacy to the community, for example, Judaism or Catholicism, it doesn't make sense to put one aspect of your life in the religion box and another aspect of your life in the state box. For a lot of people who are religious, they see the world as a coherent whole, and they see their relationship to their creator or to their savior or to their particular gods as having to do with their entire life. It's not so easy to separate into these little boxes. These little boxes, while necessary for civil and pluralistic democratic society, these can be somewhat in tension with the way that religious communities think about themselves and have thought about themselves for centuries. I am in no way suggesting that people should impose their own religious tradition on others in a democratic society. What I am suggesting is that it's not as simple to say that American government or the American governing documents are somehow neutral. This, of course, is going to affect the way that Americans think about religion and politics and the way they understand what it means to keep church or religion separate from state or politics.